When I was young, my parents used to tell me that monsters weren't real, that the shadows under my bed were just tricks of my imagination. I believed them, until the night I learned otherwise. It started innocently enough. I was around 7 years old and, like any child, I was terrified of what might lurk under my bed. I would always take a running leap to avoid stepping too close to the edge at night. But on this particular night, as I lay there in the darkness, I realized I'd left my favorite stuffed toy on the floor next to my bed. I couldn't sleep without it. Mustered by a strange mix of tiredness and bravery, I leaned over the edge of the bed and dangled my arm, feeling around the floor in the darkness. As my hand swept across the cold wood, I felt something grab it. It wasn't a hand, not really. It was cold, wet, and slimy, like the texture of something long dead. The grip was weak at first, but then it tightened, and I felt long, bony fingers wrap around my wrist. I froze, too scared to scream. Suddenly, a voice, raspy and dry like wind passing through cracked earth, whispered from under the bed. "Come closer. I've been waiting for you." My heart stopped. I yanked my hand back with all the strength I could muster and scrambled to the far side of the bed, gasping for air. I sat there, staring at the spot where my hand had disappeared into the shadows, trying to convince myself it was a nightmare. But I could still feel the cold, wet residue of whatever had touched me on my skin. I didn't dare move for what felt like hours. Eventually, exhaustion overtook me, and I passed out in the corner of my bed, praying that it was all just in my head. When I woke the next morning, the sunlight streamed through the window, bathing my room in warmth and making the fear from the previous night seem ridiculous. I cautiously checked under the bed. There was nothing. No monster, no strange creature, just an empty space filled with dust. Relieved, I laughed at myself and reached for my stuffed toy, and froze. There, clutched tightly in my toy's small, fabric arms, was a note. I picked it up with trembling hands, my stomach turning as I read the jagged, scrawled words. "You shouldn't have pulled away.